Say, what's cracking, YouTube? It's your boy 16 to life, and I'm back like I'm on a parole violation. Yard down! Now, for those of y'all that's new to my page, in 1994, I got arrested. I was eventually sentenced to 16 years plus life, and I served 24 years straight in the California prison system. During those times, I accumulated some good stories and some insight on things related to prison. I'm going to share some with y'all today. If you like the video, be sure to hit that like button, leave a comment, subscribe. Most importantly, hit that notification bell. That way, anytime I drop a story, you will be notified ASAP, and you can hop on it whenever you're ready. Now, let's get right into this story right here. So this story right here I'm talking about is a well-known tactic by the correctional officers in the California Department of Corrections, and I'm sure many other prisons across the United States as well. It's a tactic that they use in order to seek some form of retribution across a convict or a prisoner when they get into it, man. And it's cell searching, and so you got to keep in mind that, when you have a prisoner, everything that he owns, everything that is of any importance to him is in that cell, whether it be his TV, his radio, his headphones, his letters, his personal food items, and especially his pictures and stuff like that, right? Pictures, obituaries, possibly, things like that, the CO knows that, that's where all your stuff is, And so in California, one favorite tactic of the correctional officers is when you get into it with them, sometimes it's just a verbal argument to go search your cell, And now in California, they have what's known as a property card. And so that basically is for anything that is legally your property in prison. It goes on that card, because in California, especially when I first came to prison, in 96, every 3 months we could order a package, and we could get certain things sent, clothes, hygiene, candy, stuff like that. When I first came to prison, actually, we could get a 30-pound box sent from home. Later on, due to they had people still, trying to get a lot of paraphernalia in there. Later on, they changed it where we had to order from a specific vendor. They had certain vendors we could order these packages from. That way, all the items could not be tampered with. But like I said, we also could order TVs, CD players, Walkmans, stereos, whatever. So when we would get these items, they would use basically like a tattoo gun to put our CDC number on the back, and then the item, whether it was a TV, Walkman, CDs, it would be listed on our property card. And so when the CO, you may get into it with a CO, and he goes to search your cell. Of course, he's going to get your property card, which was up there at the desk where they had sat at the podium, or maybe in the tower, wherever they kept it. But anyway, what he was hoping for is things in your cell that wasn't on your property card. They have items that's called like a floater. Like, say I may go home and I may leave my TV, or I may leave my radio with one of my homies. Now, in some instances, you are able to get your homie's TV put on your books, and he can leave it to you like that. But in a lot of instances, that doesn't happen. Dude's just going home, he leaves his homie the TV. So when you get into it with a guard, that's one of the ways they try to get you back. They come in your cell, they want to take things that's not yours, your CDs, your TV and your Walkman and stuff like that, especially because they know that, for many convicts, the TV is a way to pass a lot of time. And so if you don't have a TV, if that TV is not on, if that TV is not on your bed card, so it's considered a floater. And so, they can take it because it's really not your property, But I've seen them get way more devious than that, man. They've gone in people's cells, will literally trash the cell, they'll take off the bed sheets, throw all that stuff on the floor, have all your clothes, have all your cellie's clothes, have everything mixed up, coffee spilled on the floor. Now, there's a book that's called the Title 15. And basically what the Title 15 is a book of rules that governs the prison, is a book of rules that governs how things are supposed to be ran in the prison. And those rules are for prisoners and COs as well, correctional officers as well. And somewhere in there, I don't remember the exact spot now, but it states that when they search your cell, they're supposed to conduct a neat search, and they're supposed to leave the cell pretty much how they find it, or how they found it. Now that's one rule I believe that's always broken, and it's never, they never stick to that rule. Sometimes the COs will be as devious as this. Now, say I may get into it with a CO, a verbal altercation. The CO will go in my cell, because in California, the cells are 2 people to a cell. So the CO may go in my cell and intentionally only search and trash my celly stuff in an attempt to pit us against one another, right? And, to me, in my opinion, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But in my opinion, that's the difference sometimes between a convict and an inmate. One thing I took pride in is never allowing the COs, the correctional officers, the staff, to pit me against another prisoner, regardless of whether he was black, white, Hispanic, or whatever, because they do certain things to try to keep us at odds with each other, right? And so that was something that I never would bite into, right? Now, albeit though, it also depends on the infraction that your cellie may have committed in order to get the cell search, because sometimes people think that when a person works in the capacity of law enforcement, whether it's police officer, correctional officer, whatever, they're infallible and they can do no wrong. We got to keep in mind that the correctional officers, they're people as well. They have good days, they have bad days, they have likes, they have dislikes, and sometimes they just do things out of spite, just because they're in a position to where they can be in an authoritative position over you. We know sometimes people in those positions, they get used to people listening to them, following their orders, and they don't like for someone to not listen to them. In my experience, I found a lot of times that a lot of those COs, they don't know the Title 15, they don't know the book of rules themselves. They'll just say something under the assumption that since they are in an authoritative position, you're going to believe what they say, or you're going to take their word, right? So many times the COs will disrespect the person. Anybody that's done time know there's many disrespectful COs. And so I say that to say that if my cellie happens to encounter one of these disrespectful COs, I'm not going to expect him just to bow down and tuck his tail and do whatever this CO is saying, especially if I know this CO has a reputation for being disrespectful. But you have some dudes like that who get mad when the police happens to come in the cell and search the cell, And now now sometimes you do have convicts in there and inmates, I'll say, doing stupid stuff, Now there are times when perhaps a CO may search somebody's cell and the radio is not on that person's books, so he takes the radio. It's a floater, right? So he'll take the radio and he'll set it at his desk, not necessarily in an attempt to taunt that person or antagonize him, but he just wants to listen to some music. And so I've seen situations where you may have the correctional officer away from his desk, and you'll have an inmate go up there and steal that radio, thinking that he'll be able to take it to his cell and listen to it. Now, common sense is telling you that they're supposed to come find that radio. I've seen them do certain stuff like this. The correctional officers I'm talking about, they may make an announcement. Hey, man, somebody stole the radio off the podium. They got 30 minutes to return this radio, or we're gonna come and search every single cell. And so everybody knows when they're coming to search cells looking for stuff like that, they finna to flip up, they finna to tear the cells up, they finna to dog everything. You do have, of course, people in prison who have things in their cell that they do not want to be discovered by the correctional officers during the search. And so, of course, everybody's gonna get together collectively and pass the word around from race to race. There'll be a representative going around saying, hey, man, from door to door, whatever, letting everybody know that, hey, this item's missing, this item needs to be returned, and of course that item will be returned. Now, of course, when you have a cellie doing something stupid like that, of course, yes, you're going to get on them. I've seen also where you had prisoners, they may spit in the correctional officer's chair. You know, they get into it with a correctional officer or maybe dislike the correctional officer. They'll spit into the chair, pour orange juice or milk or do something stupid like that. Now, of course, something like that, of course, you're not going to be, your celly's not going to be understanding because you're bringing heat to the cell. Now, something like that, if I had an idiotic celly like that, of course, no, I'm not going to, I'm not going to, belittle him and get on him in front of the correctional officer, right? But once the correctional officer leaves, I'm gonna definitely let him know, hey man, listen, stuff like that brings unnecessary heat to the cell. But like I said, you also have these instances where the convict is in the right, he's minding his business, and the CO is just being disrespectful. I remember this one CO, she was a female CO, and I don't know what was her problem, but she would love to just harass people, put them up against the wall, and then search them. Then she'd say, "Hey, hand me your ID." When you give her your ID so she can see who you are, she would look at the ID, take everything out your pocket, then just throw it on the ground, search you, whatever, and then expect you to pick it up and go about your day. And you definitely can believe that disrespectful officers and disrespectful cell searches were the cause of a lot of prisoners attacking the guards. I remember one time in particular when I first got to prison, to Hatchby, it was the reception center. And so there was this blood who I had actually caught the chain with, the chain meaning we had left the county jail together. We just happened to be sentenced around the same time. And we caught that bus going to the first prison, which is known as a reception center, where they analyze you, diagnose you, and assess you, and decide what type of housing that you need. Now, I believe this dude happened to, because we were going to chow, and then when you're in the reception center, you don't get a whole lot of yard and time outside of your cell. So when he came back, I believe maybe he was lollygagging on the tier a little too long for the correctional officer's liking or something. So the next time he went to chow, they went in there and they searched his cell real bad. He didn't have much. But I do remember on the bus ride up there, he had mentioned that his mother had passed away. So when he comes back from the chow hall and sees that his cell is searched, they have the obituary or a picture of his mom. I can't quite remember which, but it was on the ground, with a big boot print on it. They had walked on it. They'll go in your cell, they'll stand on your mattress, do all types of stuff, man. This dude was extremely hot. He was upset, he was angry, he was saying, "Oh my mama, I'm not locking up. Oh my mama," so he wouldn't lock up. A gang of police came, trying to get him to lock up. We like, we gonna do whatever. "Oh my mama, I'm doing whatever." Eventually, the dude in the tower came out of the tower with the Mini 14, which is a rifle, and pointed at him, told him, "Get down, do not advance toward that officer or I will shoot you." Then he eventually got down. I actually thought they was gonna shoot the dude, but that all resulted in a cell search for them being disrespectful. Now, I assume that when you take the job, right, and you're going to be working in a prison around prisoners, you have to understand that, okay, these people in prison, they are lawbreakers. A lot of them are career criminals, and of course they're disrespectful. They don't follow the rules. But to me, that comes with the territory. That's almost just like gangbanging. You have to certain consequences you have to accept as being a gang member and as being a criminal. Well, to me, certain things you have to accept when you're going to be a correctional officer in a prison. You have to still be professional. And, sometimes in my comments, people will say, "Well, hey, man, why does the inmates, prisoners, convicts, whatever, why are they so disrespectful, or why are they so angry towards correctional officers, guards, law enforcement?" Well, like I said earlier, people tend to think that when your person has on a uniform, that person is always right, he's polite, he's respectful, and no, that's not the case, and so that's why, due to incidents like this and others, you have a lot of people who are extremely hostile towards correctional officers. I told a story one time. If you guys haven't seen that story, the name of that story is called "When Guards Overstep Their Authority." And basically what happened is a black inmate called a female CO the B word. She expected, she was cool as far as correctional officers go. This was in Ironwood. She expected for the black prisoners to discipline this dude for disrespecting her verbally. That was something that wasn't going to happen. Even though she was cool, the prisoners wasn't going to beat up another prisoner at the request of the guard. So then she got mad. She searched all the black cells, and she took things from the black cells. She even took things that was on the bed card. She happened to take this one dude's TV, which was on his bed card, and his family had purchased it. And so, long story short, beep boop bop, beep beep boop, beep bop boop bop. He beat the brakes off of her. You know what I'm saying? So if you haven't seen that story, go check that story out. But now, let me ask you this: there was other options that he definitely could have took. He could have definitely went across the yard, maybe a 4 minute walk, went and spoke to a sergeant. The sergeant would have immediately returned his property because the property was purchased legally. But my question is, should he have had to do that? Here he is. Keep in mind, he's a lifer. At a time, this was 1998, 99, somewhere around there, at a time when California prisons wasn't letting lifers. So if you had life with the possibility of parole, you basically had life without the possibility of parole due to the systematic denial of the parole board. So anyway, why should this dude have to go speak to a sergeant when he feels that he's being bullied basically under the color of authority? I think that's pretty much equivalent to a person coming in your house, taking something. A person wrongfully coming in your house and seizing your property and telling you that you can't have your property back. Who wouldn't be angry? Who wouldn't be upset when, like I said, the individual who cussed the CO out, she went to all the black cells and took their property. So the dude who ended up beating her up, he was not involved in that one-on-one argument that she had with the dude's name was Dredd. She wasn't involved. He wasn't involved with the argument that she had with Dredd that caused her to want the blacks to beat this dude up. So my question to you is, like I said, what would you do under that situation? Would you allow yourself to be bullied under the color of authority? And, of course, people in prison, they have bad days. They have many bad days. And I guess she happened to do that on a day that the dude, Turtle, who beat her up, just wasn't going for it. He beat the brakes off her. And I would probably say that is probably one of the worst, if not the worstest, prisoner on guard attacks that I witnessed. But like I said, that's a tactic that the guards use a lot of times. They want to go to your cell, they want to search your cell, and a lot of times they're counting on the prisoner or the convict not wanting to go through the hassle of pretty much assaulting them. I remember a time I was on a 2-yard and there was a younger blood dude, and he had only been on the yard maybe about a month or two. He had got into a lot of trouble to only be there, for a couple of months. He had got into a couple of fights and all this type of stuff. And on one day in particular, and now also this is dorm living. On one day in particular, he got into it with a guard who was disrespectful. The guard came back and searched the dorm that he was in. I believe this was a 80-man dorm. So he went around there. He searched a lot of stuff, a lot of bed areas. He came up on a cell phone or two. Now you had a couple of dudes. One dude was a Crip from Bakersfield. He happened to get his cell phone. His cell phone was found during that search, and so he's upset. He's hostile. He's pressing a line about something being done to this blood. Now I just happened to be walking by right now. Actually, the blood had got into it earlier with one of my older homies, and I had to go over there and kind of talk to him and resolve the situation, letting him know. And my homie was a Muslim, letting him know, hey, listen, homie, you're not just to fight this dude, man. This dude is in his mid-60s, pretty much letting him know that, if it gets physical, I'm gonna take his face. So the situation got resolved. So I'm not saying that, this dude was one of my favorite people. But once I heard these dudes calling for something to be done to this dude, man, I stepped up. I said, hey, no, homie, that's not right. This particular officer is an extremely disrespectful officer. This dude disrespects people every day, and the bad part sometimes when you're on a level 4, then you drop down to a level 3 and you drop down to a level 2. People who've done time at level 4s, 3s, and 2s, they know that it seems like the lower level of security that you get, the more disrespectful some of the guards become, because they're assuming that, you have more to lose when you're on a level 2. Obviously, you must be closer to the house. You have a lot of people not looking for trouble or willing to stick up for themselves in ways that a person would if he was on the 4-yard. And so sometimes these guards will extremely cross the line, But like I said, you had a couple people out there rallying the troops um, to have something done to this blood, and I stepped up, even though it really wasn't my business. But that's one thing that I didn't like, how a lot of dudes was quick to want to go in on another prisoner or a convict, behind the guard saying something or the guard doing something, that comes to me. All that comes with the territory. Having your cell phones took sometimes, not getting your phone call. The guard. When the judge sentenced us to the time, he didn't promise us cell phones and a phone call every day. Sometimes a dude may get into it, the yard goes down, and we have scheduled phone times. 2:15, you have to sign up the day before. 2:30, 2:45. So if the yard goes down at 2:10 and it's your phone call at 2:15, and whatever that incident, doesn't clear till 2:25, you just missed your phone call. Where you have some inmates, they'd get upset and they would want to go get at the dude who caused the yard to go down, or possibly go get at his car. And like I said, stuff like that happens. When the judge sentenced you to your time, he didn't promise you that you was going to get 2 or 3 phone calls a day. You'd be able to keep your cell phone during every search. So that's something that I took offense to, when you would have so-called convicts who would be willing to transgress on another convict behind an incident with a CO when they wasn't in the wrong. Because like I told that dude that day, and I said, hey man, you have a lot of these COs that disrespect us every day. You guys ain't ready to go take off on them. So eventually they listened to reason, and it was left alone. But that is a scandalous tactic that the COs use, and sometimes it definitely works. Depending on who they dealing with, they definitely can pit one inmate against another one. So anyway, yeah, that's my story right there, about sometimes how the guards will use these cell searches to try to rile us up, try to get us angry. You already know what it is. It's your boy 16 to life. Resume normal program.